Cartel members have done some pretty terrifying things. These guys are ruthless and will go to any lengths to torture and kill their victims. Just ask Santiago Meza López, also known as El Pozolero, who was arrested in 2009. Now, the nickname El Pozolero was given to him because he was a chef who made pozole, a Mexican stew made with hominy, chicken, pork, and vegetables. El Pozolero, meanwhile, used human bodies dissolved in acid to make this traditional Mexican dish. You can probably guess what dirty fetishes these gang members had. In this video, we'll be specifically taking a look at El Pozolero and how he got away with killing hundreds of people and then dissolving their bodies in barrels of acid. Stay tuned! In January 2009, Santiago Meza López was arrested by Mexican forces in the Baja Seasons Hotel in Ensenada. He was allegedly cooking seafood when the troops apprehended him and was too intoxicated to run his crime well. Let's say that seafood wasn't exactly his specialty. Meza has been dubbed El Pozolero after the traditional Mexican meat and vegetable-based stew pozole maize, a secret ingredient human bodies, that's right, the corpse, is dissolved in tubs of acid, Breaking Bad style. Before we enter into specifics, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. Thank you for supporting our channel so we can carry on sharing cool content like this. Oh, and perhaps refrain from any soup or stew throughout the video. Santiago Meza López, aka El Pozolero, began work with the Tijuana Cartel in 1996. He started off doing menial labor work, such as masonry and taking care of the cartel's horses. Eventually, he got caught up in the drug scene, converting into a dealer. Before long, his loyalty and dedicated work ethic earned him the promotion to drug office keeper, and he was in charge of the surveillance of the drug cartel's depots around Tijuana. At this point, the Tijuana was embroiled in a fierce war with the rival Sinaloa cartel. The cartels were fighting over control of drug routes into the U.S., involving shootouts, kidnappings, assassinations, and raids. According to the Mexican Commission of Human Rights, these cartel fights cost the lives of over 24,000 people, many of whom were innocent. Throughout the 90s, the Tijuana cartel usually disposed of bodies by dumping them into sewers and rivers, but the high risk of discovery by the police, combined with the logistical awkwardness of the procedure, gave incentive to look for other means of corpse disposal. In 1996, the Arellano brothers, the founders of the cartel, brought in some hardened foreign criminals to offer their insight. Their solution? Turning corpses into human sludge and grinding the residual bones down to dust. The reason they gave was it's cheap, quick, relatively easy to do, and perhaps most appealing of all, leaves little to no DNA trace. With that, drug lords Efrain Perez and Jorge Arellano Felix requested Santiago Meza López, their devoted henchman, to witness a little experiment. Meza was asked to toss a leg of beef into a drum. The container was filled with a solution of lye, also called caustic soda, mixed in with water and some other chemicals. He was told to watch over the meat for a few hours, stirring it frequently until the meat was completely dissolved. After 6 months, he was recalled for another experiment. This time, the solution was tested with the first human corpse. Efrain Perez had also ordered more henchmen to observe the experiment and train. The dead victim was undressed and jammed into the drum until his whole body was submerged in 200 liters of the corrosive solution. The glass burner was cranked up until the drum's content frothed up into a scarlet-colored foam and left overnight to cook. By the morning, the men regrouped to discover that the corpse had been reduced to a gloopy solution of human slop, with sunken bone fragments coating the bottom of the barrel. A pickup truck later collected the drum, which was then tossed into a nearby canyon under the cover of the night sky. 3 months later, Meza was put in charge of the next operation, and the rest is history. Meza became the cartel's chief corpse disposer without any protest and completely desensitized to the nature of his profession. Meza had gone from a humble stable boy to a barbaric soup master for one of the world's deadliest criminal organizations. The way he saw it, he was just doing a job. He'd run to the stores and stock up on oil barrels, caustic soda, latex gloves, and gas masks. When a fresh corpse was due for delivery, his bosses would give him a call, indicating the pickup location and time. Once he arrived at the meeting spot, several cars would pull up and he'd be notified which one was driving the corpse, either through another call or a flash of the blinkers. Then, with the help of 2 other henchmen, the bodies were carted off, dissolved in barrels, picked up and thrown into underground pits scattered across Baja California. The bodies took 24 hours to dissolve. Meza's main boss was the ruthless kingpin Teodoro Garcia Cimental, dubbed El Tio. This man worked for both the Tijuana Cartel as well as the Sinaloa Cartel. In 2008, a deep rift between El Tio and the Arellano brothers led to the former's decision to switch sides and join the Sinaloa Cartel, allying himself with El Chapo. El Tio brought Meza along with him. The soup master was now stewing the followers of his former employees and working for people he once liquefied. He kept his attractive salary of $600 a week. His macabre and turncoat career came to an end in January 2009. Mexican federal agents were able to track him down thanks to an anonymous tip-off on January 25, 2009. A press release revealed Meza to the public. He confessed to stewing over 300 corpses and apologized to the relatives of his victims, insisting he was just a man doing a job and not a drug dealer nor a killer, and certainly not a monster. After his arrest, he also collapsed in tears and pleaded for God's forgiveness. The victims' relatives later stated that his apology was not followed up with genuine willingness to relieve their suffering. He allegedly refused to cooperate with the identification of the victims and would not provide the location of their remains, presumably unwilling to rat on the cartel and risk his own life. But without his cooperation, the procedure's effect on DNA retrieval, the identification of the remains stands as an impossible task. The victims' relatives await justice. They are often just the family members of the drug war's innocent casualties, mere pawns in a devastating war of greed and lust for power. They live with the deep wounds of loss and the impossibility of reconciliation. Excavations over the past decade have shocked the world to the magnitude of the disposal process and the number of cartel victims. In 2017, a dig in a rural house in the outskirts of Tijuana along the highway resulted in the recovery of 16,500 liters of organic material found in a mass grave, along with 170 kilograms of bone fragments. This site, notoriously dubbed as the chicken coop, was where Meza worked for a year and a half. The remains of at least 240 victims lay here, with some estimates going up to 650 victims. Other excavations have uncovered more pits filled with human remains and therefore severely undermining Meza's estimate of 300 victims. Indeed, in 1 month alone, Meza could liquidize upwards of 30 corpses, and he was in the stewing trade for an astounding 13 years. In 2015, Meza was given a prison sentence for involvement in organized crime and illegal deprivation of freedom. Earlier, his only charge was the possession of illegal firearms. During this time, he has completed a primary education and has learned to write. He served 10 years in prison and was set to be released. So what are your thoughts on the Stew Man? Let us know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed watching this one. Thanks for watching.